Hey.
Hey there.
Oh, I didn't see you.
Motion
Hello.
sickness. Oh my God.
I was going to say
Hello.
hello and welcome to How Do Artists, a show that focuses on a single topic of conversation and asks the question, how do artists live, work, play, run their businesses, and stay inspired, or handle challenges and adversity from an artist's perspective? Our show will speak with a diverse group of artists and creatives as you, our listeners, will have a chance to ask your questions during the Q&A segment towards the end of our show. I am your co-host, Ryan Caldwell, musician and producer, and I am joined by co-host Karlana Pedersen, artist and illustrator.
Well, hello and thank you, Ryan. Our conversation for today is how do artists handle rejection? Our guest today is Phil Machi. Phil Machi is a cartoonist and filmmaker known for his long-running book series Retail Sunshine, which follows the adventures of a group of salespeople dealing with infuriating customers and unbearable management. In late 2020, Phil released a documentary short film, Sparking Sunshine, which included the premiere of his first animated interpretation of Retail Sunshine, his podcast, Stay Tooned, and live stream show, Stay Tuned Live, which takes a fun and informative look at the lives of professionals in the animation industry. This behind-the-scenes series is currently spawning a feature documentary film about Batman, the animated series. Phil is with us this evening to discuss how do artists handle rejection. Yay!
Woo!
Hi, Phil. How are you?
Karlana and Ryan, you guys had a missed opportunity to kick me off the show right then. You're like, this is how artists deal with rejection.
Oh man, that would have been
out,
too
right?
good.
Right? We're gonna show you how he deals with it right now. Phil?
Use this as an example.
Oh, we're gonna give a live demonstration.
I'm big about living by example. I think that's the way to go. So
you got to do it for sure.
Take one on the chin for the team every once in a while.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And in terms of rejection, I think it's safe to say that if we're going to talk about this topic, anyone over the age of 5 years old knows what rejection feels like, I think, whether it's school or work or your goals and ambitions. So we'd like to know a little bit more about you, or start telling us about you and how you have made your accomplishments and overcame specific rejections so that you can get to where you are right now in your craft, which you've done a lot of stuff. So
I'm definitely over the age of 5, so I'm qualified.
Yes. It qualifies you, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
I've never felt more overqualified than this moment right here. Multiple times.
I don't know if I should take that. I don't know how to take that.
I'm at least as competent as multiple 5-year-olds.
Right.
Right.
I would probably say to start that a lot of it comes from ignoring what people tell you. Just in general, just ignore what people say. I spent a very long part of my life thinking that I had to bend to other opinions.
Right.
And there was one point in time, there was a specific point in time, I don't know, I think it was maybe in my 20s or whatever, where it just kind of hit me. And I was like, hey, you know what? Everybody doesn't know what they're talking about.
Right.
I just realized it. I'm like, everybody thinks they know how to parent. Everyone thinks they know how to drive. Everyone thinks they know how to whatever. I'll fill in the blank, and everyone's just doing the best they can with what they know. But nobody can tell you what that means for you specifically.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right. You've done quite a bit of projects. Tell us about these projects that you've gotten into and what that means to you, and what were people saying when you first got it started? How did you handle? Not everybody, I'm sure, said yes to what it is you wanted to do. How did you get through that?
Yeah. I guess we can talk about Retail Sunshine, because that's kind of like the thing that people know me best for. So I started that in 2008, and it was a very crude looking comic strip, and I was just trying to go for something different. I had been working on being very meticulous and rendered with my previous series before that. And so I was kind of ready to see if I could change it up and make something quirky, fun, and a little bit less involved for me to, less labor intensive, I guess.
Right.
And I went to a convention. I took my work with me, and I remember this guy that was kind of a friend of mine, maybe more of an acquaintance, but he looked at it and he was like, okay, he's like, I see you got a gimmick going on here, and I'm like, a gimmick? Like, it really? I'm not worried about this person seeing this video because it was said in passing. I know that, and pardon the floating cat hair. There's so much of it around here.
Oh,
I just saw it floating in front of the screen. I was like, that's just, you're gonna think I live in a pile of. It's true. I live in a pile of cat hair.
Hey, it's better. I don't know. Maybe a pile of cats.
Well, that's true. That's a disturbing thought. Hopefully, they're all alive and well. So he said that to me, and I was just like, I mean, obviously, it stuck with me. You know, I didn't want it to be a gimmick, and I was still trying to figure out what it was for me.
Yeah.
And so I think my point in telling this story is, as much as I wanted to hit the ground running with Retail Sunshine,
right,
it has absolutely evolved, and I've always wanted to hit the ground running, but I have to admit to myself, there's always going to be some form of evolution.
Yeah.
And if you're in, I mean, hopefully we're always evolving to an extent, but if you're in the early stages of a project, if you're developing something and it's like this unformed piece of clay, everybody feels like they need to tell you what you need to do to make that clay into something else. And that's a really difficult position to be in, because it takes a lot of trust in your own central guidance system of where you want to go with it next.
Right.
So I guess that's kind of the best thing I can say is just be very open to people's suggestions, meaning be able to listen to them, but also remind yourself that when that conversation is over, nobody's holding a gun to your head to do what they told you.
Well, right. And you can trust in your own taste. I mean, that's assuming you have good taste, you know.
Well, that's very true. That's very true. I mean, taste is subjective, I would hope too.
And art is very subjective. What one person loves, another person can be like, oh, I don't like that at all.
Although the gimmick comment did make me think about, I once heard it said that a gimmick is a poorly executed, unique selling proposition.
I mean, that's why I hated that statement, because that's exactly what I took that as.
Yeah.
I took it as he was looking at my work and going, oh, I see. You're trying to sell something. Therefore, you're trying to make it like, hit a certain market or whatever.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like I sat at home thinking I'm going to make something that will sell a certain way. I was just trying to do something different from what I had been doing for years before that. And I wanted it to be more able to incorporate my daily life. So at that point in time, I had been working at Best Buy for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been drawing this other comic strip called Livestock, which is a very near and dear series to my heart, but it wasn't really giving me a lot of opportunity to reflect my daily experiences. And so I wanted something that I could kind of make it more current and more day-to-day stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why I was like, I got to find a way to do this. So I thought, all right, starting over, if I'm going to make a comic strip from scratch, what do I want it to be about? I'm going to make it about all the crazy people that I meet every day. And I'm going to make it like kind of a little bit tongue in cheek, a little bit smart alecky. And I'm going to mix that with some really crude looking drawings that make you wonder, like, did a 4-year-old draw this?
Now you say crude, and I don't agree with that at all. Just so that our listeners have a point of reference, Livestock really seemed to be a comic that you created that was more detailed, had a slightly more dimension in terms of not only the artistic value, but the storyline. And then the Retail Sunshine was really like to me, it was a very expressive. I know you use the word stick figures, but it really wasn't stick figure. It was just a really, no, even at its crudest that you showed in the. Right. I'll show you a stick figure. I mean, I'll draw you a stick figure.
I can go get the book off the shelf and show you what I mean. But no, I appreciate that. I mean, I think over time it became less and less stick figure. But if you look at the early stuff, their arms are literally like a line. Like like now their arms are kind of fatter, and they have like joints, and their fingers are all individual. Like it's definitely no longer.
There's more detail.
It's more detail.
They've always been very expressive. It always seemed like it was very expressive and really funny.
Oh yeah.
I mean, really funny.
So that's not realistic. It's not.
I love that.
Yeah, thank you. So this is actually from the animation that is.
Yes.
These are, so I have these on my there's a bulletin board right here you can't see. And so there's a bunch of these numbered folders, because all of this is a stack of drawings that went into making the animated short. So I've got just a bunch of stacks of drawings that it was drawn and then animated by hand. So the idea behind that was I like to punish myself, and no, I'm just kidding.
What happened to Livestock? Are you still drawing Livestock?
No, I'd like to return to it. Here's the long and gruesome story, told in only like less than 3 minutes. So it's not that long and gruesome. As my grandmother used to say, here's the Reader's Digest version.
Oh, okay. Right. I remember that reference.
Yeah. I've all these references. As I get older, I'm like, oh, no one knows what I'm saying anymore.
Oh, my daughter's not going to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's great. So Livestock, I wrapped up that series. I had drawn it on and off for about 11 years. And then in 2007, I published my first ever publishing of a book. It was self-published, and it was collected all the strips that I had done and some like little offshoot images. And I asked a bunch of friends if they would draw my characters in their style. And so it's got all that stuff put together. Mm-hmm. And then they kind of went away for a while. I say they're in hibernation because they're animals. And I don't think cows hibernate, but that's and then in 2013, summer of 2013, I moved to Austin. My first year here was spent working on a completely different project that we haven't talked about. And then I got burned out on it. And the summer of, or I think it was late summer of, no, sorry, maybe May of 2014, I was like, I'm burned out. I can't make this project right now. And that's probably how I said it too, because I'm Italian. So, so then I went ahead and said, I'm going to go back to Livestock. And I started to make a comic book, like a vertical style comic book, not a strip, like a full story where every page is just like another page in the story. Mm-hmm. And I got 5 pages into it. I've got all 5 pages done. They're created. They're on my computer. Like they're all laid out and everything. And I got burned out on that too. So the last thing I did with them has never seen the light of day. And I would like to go back and finish that story at some point. That would be really cool. I've done a little bit of animation with them. I did an animated short cartoon called Better Off Hungry. And that's on my YouTube channel. And then there's another animation that is not on my YouTube channel because it never got past the storyboard phase. So I actually have an animatic. An animatic is when you take your storyboards and you have them on screen set to music, and it's meant to be like a timing piece so that you know how you want to animate it when you go back and you animate it. I have the animatic on my computer. I have that file. But it's not available to see anywhere online. So there's other stuff that was in the works and just never happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not yet. Right.
Yet.
Because
there's still time.
Absolutely.
I hope so. Don't get all Nostradamus on me.
No, I would never quote Nostradamus.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, so I'm curious. So circling back to the rejection topic. What is the weirdest way that you've gotten rejected for something?
Are we talking about like romance or what?
Let's say art, but if you got good honorable mentions in romance.
Constantly rejected in that way. I've gotten like, so there was a series that people that have been following my stuff a little too closely. You know, when you're driving behind a car and you're like, if you can read this bumper sticker, back up, you know?
Yeah.
No, there's a series. There's this dinosaur book that I've been teasing for years that I'm going to make at some point. I don't know if I will. I would like to make it, but now I'm at a point where I'm like, if it happens, it happens.
Right.
And so that project back in like 2004, I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I've never developed this project. It's just a pipe dream. Tell you what I'll do. I'll try to make a TV show out of it, and I'll send it off to a bunch of companies.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got rejected by all of them. And I said, forget you guys. I'll make it into a book myself, and then you'll see how wrong you were. and so but the rejection from that just came in the form of these letters. I kept the letters. I have a letter from like the Jim Henson Company. I've got a letter from like Cartoon Network, from Nickelodeon. I've got all these rejection letters. Some of them were emails, rejection emails, but I got rejection letters from a few of them. And so I've kept those because, you know, if I ever do make that story into a book and I finish it, I'm going to be like, let me take a snapshot of these rejection letters and put them in the book, in the back of the book, and you'll be able to see all the ways that it was rejected.
Oh, you have to.
Right. I don't know if that's a good story, but I'm just saying that to me those are like a badge of honor. I like the rejection letter. You have the letterhead from the studio and everything. It's great.
Oh,
wow. Yeah. So you've memorialized this for your own like mental satisfaction, I'd say, right?
I think I'm constantly memorializing myself. The most morbid thing you can do, way to live your life, is like constantly memorializing yourself.
Making various shrines and, you know, trophy rooms. And...
I have a skull right here, so I mean, like,
what is that?
That's cool.
This is a skull that when you turn the switch on, it has the.
Oh, very nice. Oh yeah, I used to love those things.
It's a clear skull on a pedestal.
Oh yeah, for the podcast, for the podcast listeners.
Right. Yeah. Sorry.
And it's got your name on it.
No, it says electropathic vessel.
Ooh.
Fingers Spectral Equipment Company. This is from Target. I bought it for how?
Oh my gosh. All right, so that's what you do when you get rejected. What do you do to prepare for the rejection, Phil?
My favorite thing in interviews is when someone goes, okay, so.
I mean, I'm staring at a glass like skull.
Uh-huh.
Hey,
and this is a part of your like process of how you deal with rejection.
Oh no! I think we were talking about shrines and memorializing things.
Yeah, it feels like it's a process. Is this your process for when someone like turns you down? You say, "Screw you! I am going to hang your rejection letter on the wall for everyone to see." So that when the next like executive at your company, actually signs me, I can come back with this rejection letter later and say, see, you guys screwed up the first time.
Got to be careful what you put into print, people, because it'll come back to haunt you later.
Well,
so, go ahead, Ryan.
Scarlet letter.
Yeah. I just wear a big letter A on my chest everywhere I go. For you kids out there who haven't gotten to 9th grade English, The Scarlet Letter is a book about prostitution.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of.
Right. So what do you do to prepare for the rejection? I mean, what are you doing so that like you can sort of, I don't know, like stop it before it happens?
The best thing I can tell you, Karlana, and this is a serious answer, I promise this time. Get very, very, very good. And this will probably be the hardest thing you ever do as an artist. Get very good at self-containing your own need for validation.
Ooh, I like that.
I'm very serious about that. That is the most important thing you can do, because I even had someone I spoke with earlier today talking with me about artists, and they said, well, don't we need to be validated as artists? I'm not calling this person out, by the way, for saying this. They're not wrong in thinking this. They're just younger than me. But it's a very good question. Don't we need validation as artists? And I think you need validation from yourself. And I'm finally at a point where I'm getting pretty good at that. I mean, there's still things that wound me. I won't claim like they don't, but for example, putting out Sparking Sunshine, it's been really therapeutic because I was actually able to let it go after I finished it. And I don't mean that I'll never look at it again. I just mean I wasn't obsessing over it once I said it. When I said it was done, it was done. And for years, I had a real hard time doing that. I know a lot of artists have a hard time doing it. So I really wanted to get to a place where I was happy with it. And when I was at peace with it, and I knew that like I knew people were going to have things they were going to say about it, and they were going to, go, how I would have ended it, explosions. But like I got to a point where I'm totally fine with it. I'm not fine. I mean, like I'm pleased. I'm pleased with it.
You're at peace with it.
I'm at peace with it. And I've recently submitted it to a number of film festivals, and it's been rejected from every single film festival. So
nice.
One of them is giving me a maybe, and I'll know in 10 days if that maybe is a yes. It was really, actually, this is to go back to Ryan's question about the funniest rejection. This is not a rejection, but it's a funny maybe. 2 days ago, I got a maybe email saying, "Congratulations! Tell everybody that you're in the festival. Tell them to vote for your film. Here's all the badges you can use." And at the very bottom, it said PS, and it literally said PS. I'm not just saying that. It said PS. If you haven't received a personal validation yet, your film is still in consideration.
What does that mean?
And they moved the date. The date we were supposed to find out about it was supposed to be like the 18th, and they moved it to the 31st. They extended the deadline. So now I'm literally just going, I don't know what's happening. It still says in consideration.
It's the dark side of those automatic emails.
It is. So, the point is that the first couple of rejections, I was bummed out. Now I'm just like, whatever. It wasn't what they were looking for. It doesn't mean that what I did isn't good, but I think it can be easy to fall into that. Like, well, if they didn't like it, why should I like it? And that's completely bogus. And if anybody ever wants to ask me about this further, they can. I'm telling you this right now. Feel free to reach out to me on social media, and I'll be your art therapist for just a few minutes.
I think we could all use a little art therapy, to be honest with you, sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot going on, and on top of it, we have to deal with rejection, and it's a serious thing. Everyone in art or who puts themselves out there has, I'm pretty sure, has been rejected. I know there's been tons of times.
You have to stop looking at life like a goalpost. I mean, there are goals. I'm not saying
right.
you don't go, but you have to stop looking at it like that and start looking at it like a maze. And when I say a maze, what I mean is, assuming you can't look down on paper at the maze, I'm saying if you're in a maze and you're walking through a maze, at some point you're going to round a corner and it's going to lead to a dead end. That does not mean there's no exit to the maze.
Right.
You just stop right there. You have to turn around and go back a different way. And to me, rejection is that. It's when you round a corner and something says not this way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I like that explanation.
Yeah, it's like this. Either guys read the last lecture?
No, but I can fake it and make your story sound even more engaging.
Fantastic. Let's go with that.
Yes, I've totally read it.
It's really good, right?
It's fantastic.
I love the part with the sharks.
I've got it here right now. I've got it.
But one of Randy's quotes in that is that the brick walls are there to stop people who don't want things bad enough.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's one of those things where it's like he gave like a ton of different anecdotes, including his current wife or his former wife. I mean, he's dead.
Called his wife a brick wall?
Wow.
I think I know why he's divorced.
Yikes.
But yeah, no, I very much agree with that concept, though, of just, it's just to stop people who don't want it bad enough and who aren't willing to go and kind of keep persevering. It's kind of a war of attrition in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really something to think about. So with that, how do you think that there are habits we as artists do that contribute to rejection? Maybe, A little self-sabotage kind of thing going on?
I think negative self-talk, the internal dialogue of yourself is like when you get a pimple and you start to pick at it and that only makes it come out more.
Mm-hmm.
That's what negative self-talk is.
But it leaves a scar, more importantly.
And it ruins your class photo.
This is true.
So I just think negative self-talk is what we do. When I was working in retail, one of the things I had to remind myself, and really on the way home, I would be very, very angry. Something a customer would say to me would just really get under my skin.
Yeah.
People don't realize how powerful their words are sometimes.
Absolutely.
I would drive home and remind myself, and I would tell my fellow employees this as well to try to help them out because we would all kind of get burned about stuff. And I would say, do you suppose that person you met hours ago who has already left the store, they're at home now, eating their Hungry Man frozen dinner and sitting watching TV, American Idol, whatever. Do you think they're sitting at home right now thinking about what they said to you today? And they're like, probably not. And I'm like, right. So why are you giving them the control over your life to be thinking about what they said to you so much?
Oh, for sure.
Right.
So that's the problem is we get something in here like a little earworm, and then we just keep playing it back over and over and over again. And it's a form of conditioning. We condition ourselves to believe that we aren't worthy of love, of attention, of validation, whatever. We just convince ourselves we're not worthy of it by constantly telling ourselves that we're not worthy of it.
That's the thing. I mean, a lot of people kind of throw that out there as in the guise of, using it to motivate themselves, right? Like going and using negative, more stick than carrot.
You can. The problem with that is I think vengeance leads to just like an empty bitterness. So even if you do show all the haters, even if you do, the problem with showing the haters is, and that being your motivation, I'm not saying you can't show the haters, you can. But the problem with that being your motivation is it's an empty goal because odds are that person you're never going to talk to again, typically, if it's somebody who's saying it to you in passing. So you're never going to know.
Right.
And then beyond that, a lot of times people who are just negative people, or if they're, just kind of focused on themselves all the time. There's a word, I'm forgetting the word right now. I'm blanking on the word.
Narcissistic.
Narcissistic. Odds are, thank you, Karlana. Odds are, even if you do prove them wrong, they'll never admit to it anyway.
Right.
So it's an empty pursuit.
Right. You're not going to win. There's no prize.
There's not. And even if, like I said, even if you win, even if you got all the money and got all the praise and they'll still find a way to turn it around and say that you didn't win.
And you still have to live with yourself.
You'll have to live with yourself. Yes. And maybe if you're married or you have kids or whatever, somebody else has to live with you. And you don't want to be putting them through that.
Well, then how do you evaluate? How do you properly evaluate? And we're not talking about like criticism or rejection to the level of abuse. Like people in retail get abused. I mean, that's no joke. I mean,
why am I still drawing cartoons about it? It clearly left an impact on me.
Seriously. So we're not talking about people who are doing that because clearly there's a level there that is a different conversation. But in terms of putting your craft out there, in terms of whether it's sales or whether you're trying to meet your own specific goals, how do you evaluate legitimate rejection and evaluate fact versus fiction? Is somebody rejecting me because really I have to re-examine my art or examine my craft and maybe, like you said, pivot? We talk about pivot off and on throughout our series. And is that something that is needed as a result of the rejection? Or is it someone's personal opinion? How does someone weed through that and figure out which one this is?
I think it all comes down to knowing what you want. So like for me, for as long as I can remember, all I've wanted to do was to have characters that were my characters that I could just create with them and tell stories with them. And that was my goal. It wasn't, mansion, you know what I'm saying? So like for me, I feel like as long as I'm creating and maybe it's not always comics, maybe I'm doing a documentary film for something, for Batman. I just randomly came up with that off the top of my head. But my point is that like I got within myself, I got real clear on my goals, and my goals are always be creating something. And that's my litmus test. So I'll ask myself at the end of the day, not necessarily out loud, just sort of, checks and balances. Am I creating right now? And if I am I creating something that if I was an outside observer, I would look at it and find it interesting and find it entertaining? And if the answer to that is yes, then I'm good. If someone wants to tell me that I'm not doing it right, then they can tell me that. But as long as I can say, I look at this as objectively as I can, and I can see the value in it, and I'm feeling fulfilled because I'm creating something that I'm passionate about. If I can answer those two questions with a yes, then I'm good.
No, that ties a bow on that.
That?
Oh, I was gonna say that ties a bow on that.
You have to tie a bow on it, because if you constantly make your mission something you haven't done yet, I think you really need to make your mission a series of small missions,
right?
And your life mission should be to continue doing that thing. So if you love gardening, and you want to, I don't know, like have the best roses in town, then once you get the blue ribbon at the festival, do you stop? Are you done?
Right.
But if you're like, no, I love this, I want to keep doing it, then your mission becomes to constantly be planting the best roses and constantly being able to like share them with the world and win ribbons. I mean, you have to give yourself something that is sustainable, and you have to give yourself something that is also realistic too.
Right.
If your mission is like, man, once I make $1 million, then I'm done. I mean, you're going to feel done once you get that $1 million, because your whole mental energy up to that point was saying that this one goalpost, the one thing, is the only thing that'll make you happy the rest of your life,
Oh yeah. Well, then you start spiraling out of control, and you buy like 3 yachts, and
right. Because your purpose was, you would think, well, I achieved it. Isn't that great? No, what happened was you literally had your goal taken away from you. You didn't really gain anything. You actually lost something, But if your goal is constantly to be, for me, to be creating, then as long as I'm constantly creating, then I'm constantly receiving the rewards of those goals. It isn't to put it in. You don't want to put your goals in somebody else's hands. You don't want to say my goal is fame, because you can't control somebody else's reaction to you.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You can't control if they're going to throw money at you. They might, but they also might not do that. They might go buy an Xbox. You know what I mean? Like,
if you can find one.
If you can find one. No, that's PlayStation 5.
Well, and it's funny because that reminds me of kind of a goal with one of the groups I'm in, is we have to at least try to be more entertaining than Netflix.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because the reality of this is, and people don't want to admit this, even if now I don't want to put too much pressure on an aspiring artist, but the reality of this is, if you're an artist of any caliber, your competition is everything. No pressure. But think about it. That's true.
Right. No, it's true.
Even this show tonight, if someone's watching this show live right now, they had to actively choose not to watch any of the millions of other things they could be watching.
Oh, yeah.
Your competition for this show is
a million other podcasts. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we know.
No, sorry.
We know.
Well, but here, I mean, the flip side of that, though, is really, really gratifying, because nothing makes you feel more grateful than thinking that, man, these people could be doing anything right now, but the people who are watching this podcast are deliberately choosing this.
But you could.
And thank you, by the way.
Yes, of course. Thank you to the audience. But you, no harm, no malice to the audience. But the reality is, this act of what we're doing, in my opinion, should be the reward. It's I don't know if anyone's watching right now. I'm not paying attention to that.
Yeah, we've got a few watchers.
Well, that's good.
Hello, thank you.
But
We
let's
love you. That's right.
Pretend for a minute they're not there. Let's pretend they're not there for just a moment. And I'm not saying anything.
Don't make them leave.
No, I know. I'm just saying that this, for you guys and for me, this is a moment that we're experiencing, the three of us together. Right. We don't need an audience member to tell us that it's good or bad or the other for us to enjoy this moment together. That's my point.
That's true. That's true. But we will hear about it if it's not. So
we love the audience.
We do.
I love you, audience.
It's like start smearing hand grease on your webcam.
I feel like now, like you guys are gonna have to be like, well, we accidentally muted Phil's microphone for just a moment. I don't know what happened. Seems like there's a
little technical difficulty. Sorry about that.
That's honestly the best perk of being a sound guy. That's right. Just realizing that they can do whatever they want to on stage, but a little too much flack, and they can. Right. I have a button for that. It's
yes.
I wasn't insulting the audience. I promise.
Oh no, you are fine. But I largely think you're right. Is you have to be doing what makes you happy and what you think is good. And I mean, we were talking about this on the last podcast. The 1,000 raving fans theory, where it's more just finding what your market is. It's not going and making things that will satisfy the closest 1,000 people to you. It's finding things that there are 1,000 people on this planet who cannot get enough of.
Right.
Sure.
Like they will eat up everything you put out there because for whatever reason it connects that just suddenly with them. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to find your audience. That's why if you have an email group, I've got an email group, and I lost somebody today on it actually. And okay, it's okay. They were a former manager at the company I used to work at, so don't worry. I mean, they might still be a manager. They're former because I don't work there anymore.
Yeah.
But my point is that you have to kind of get to a point where you tell yourself that wasn't my audience, and so you don't feel bad about not losing or about losing that, because that if you throw out like a piece of if you peel an orange and you throw the peel away, you don't cry about the peel. That wasn't the orange you wanted to eat. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's really hard though. I feel like people are super loss averse. Anytime we lose anything, we kind of lose our minds.
Yeah, you just look at it as an opportunity for growth. I mean, if you lose one person, you should go, all right, cool. What am I doing to gain new people? Don't cry over the one person lost. You should be looking for the opportunities to build and expand.
Well, and speaking of that, do you have any examples of when rejection worked in your favor? When you got rejected from something, but based on a chain of events that happened after that just propelled you forward or opened a door that wouldn't have been opened?
Or you were glad they rejected you.
It would have ultimately not.
You dodged a bullet.
Yeah.
I was. I mean, that just brings up dating. That's all I can think of. There's just times when I'm like, you know what? I'm really glad that didn't work out with that person, because that would have been awful. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to get too detailed with it.
I'm not going to go into the juicy details.
She knows who she is.
Oh.
Well, that's good. I mean, as long as she knows herself.
All five of those G's know who they are.
Oh my goodness.
I've lost track of how many women have rejected me. It's okay. It's fine.
I don't necessarily know I was specifically talking about women rejecting you, but that's okay. We'll go with that.
But I can't think of a time where someone rejected me creatively and I was like, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it happened. It's just I don't have that kind of like a
right. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's been times where I felt to myself, well, I'll show you. I've had that kind of a moment, but I mean,
hence the memorialized letters, I think.
Yes,
right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. But the reason why I don't like referring to that is because it wasn't like I wasn't going to keep doing it anyway. You know what I mean?
Right.
So now I'm just doing it anyway, and I'm angry.
Well, okay, but how about like dodged bullet opportunities, where it's like you submitted something to something and then you upon, future reflection, it was like, oh yeah, if I had gotten that, I would have been just completely screwed.
I guess the thing I mentioned earlier about the rejection letters from the TV show, if they had picked up that series as a TV show, it was. So the thing about that is it's an incredibly personal story. It's like I made a book when I was 8 or 9 in second grade, and it was about dinosaurs. We had a book making project in school, and we all made books. Everyone made books. And so I made a book about dinosaurs because I'm obsessed with dinosaurs. And that story has just kind of like been in me ever since. And I've tried over the years to like make a cartoon version of dinosaurs, and I never really liked any of it. I always thought it looked stupid, and I couldn't think of what I wanted to write about. And then that's why I pulled that story to offer to make as a TV show, because I'm like, well, I clearly can't do anything with it. I might as well offer it up to somebody and see if I can get a career going out of being in TV. And they all rejected it. And then I said, okay, well, if I was going to do this story, maybe now I can try to do it like on my own again. And I made like 13 pages, stopped working on it because I didn't like the art style. That was back in 2004, I think. And then I didn't pick it up again until like 2013, or like 8 or 9 years later. And then I made like 23 pages, and then that's the one that I got burned out on. And I really do want to complete that. I mean, I've gotten pretty far into it for me to stop there.
Right.
But I wanted the book to be like 100 pages. So it was like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, you're close, but how close are you really?
Well, the last 60 go way faster than the first 30. That's for sure.
That's what they say. They all say that. So it was one of those things where had I got that sold as a show, I don't know if I would have gone and tried to make it into a graphic novel. I don't know. Maybe I would have anyway. Maybe I still would have done it. But the point is that I was definitely ticked off that, like, I want to say it was somebody from. I don't want to say who it was from.
Sure.
I just realized that would be a bad idea. So
yeah, it's okay.
Look at that expert self-censoring, though.
What's that?
Look at that expert self-censoring, though.
Well, it comes from years of sticking your foot in your own mouth. So I learned by example of myself. So the such and such company sent me a letter saying, we don't think this is right for us. It seems like it's too preschool of an idea.
Ooh.
And I was really, really hurt by that, because it's not preschool. It's just very gentle-hearted, and it's a very wholesome story. But that doesn't mean it's something that is preschool. It would be like, do you know the movie? Pixar's WALL-E?
Sure.
It would be like calling WALL-E preschool. WALL-E's very advanced and has a lot of adult themes in it.
Right.
And but kids can watch it and appreciate it. And that's the kind of stuff that I like to make, is stuff that it speaks to an adult audience, not because of inappropriate behavior, but because of thematic tones and things like that. Content. But the characters are engaging enough that kids will just want to be a part of it anyway. So to me, that's some of the most powerful stuff you can make.
Absolutely.
But I wouldn't call it preschool. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny you brought up WALL-E, because when you said that, I was like, oh, and I guess Pixar can go take a hike, because that's like all they do.
That's all they do, yeah. And they do it well.
They do it very well, and they kind of wrote the book on it, so to speak.
A little bit.
Probably literally. But yeah, the point is that that was definitely one of those moments where I felt rejected. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Well, you go for it.
Oh, no, I'm just, I'm literally absorbing what you're saying, and
as opposed to figuratively.
Hard. No, as opposed to blocking it, because it's but it is hard.
Your audience.
That's a hard thing, and I feel like you're laying it all out there and being really honest, and it's.
That's what we do, Karlana.
Everybody
makes mistakes. Artists are the ones who make them publicly.
That I'm gonna credit you on a meme with that one.
All right, it's true. And that's why, and no one's forgiving of us when we do either. You know, no one realizes that when they make a mistake in their cubicle, that the world isn't walking up to them and holding up a mirror and saying, "Look what you did." But when we do it, it's because it's something that we're sharing with the world. Everybody feels like they now have the right to tell us that.
Oh yeah,
and I agree with that, and I think that because we not only are creatives and artists, but we have to figure out how to operate a business, how to run a business, how to
don't ask me that one. I'm not good at that.
Yes, and not everybody's good at everything, I think, but
it's true.
You're putting yourself out there, and it makes you vulnerable, and I think that when you have rejection or and it results in failure, I feel like we should put that out there and express that, and so other people can learn from it, because I feel like some of us can get up and restart easier than others, and some people just simply don't have the luxury to fail, because failure requires brushing yourself up, hopefully, and starting over again. So I feel like putting that out there and saying, yeah, you know what, I tried this, I tried that, and it didn't work. Maybe here's why. And learning from each other is so important, I feel.
You got to develop a spiritual callus, is what I would say. You got. I wouldn't say it's easier to fail for me at this point. I've just done it enough times, and I've ignored it enough times and kept going enough that now when it happens, I'm just like, yeah, I know what that feels like.
Right. It's like muscle memory.
Oh yeah.
Muscle memory.
But you learn from it. You take something from it and you say, okay,
right,
this didn't work. Why didn't this work?
Well,
what was it that
what didn't work is the question. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You have to be really clear with yourself about that, because if the thing that didn't work was I didn't get famous, okay, well that's like maybe dial it back a notch or 5 and just
okay.
or yes, and I think that's so true about monitoring our own expectations.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that's the thing. If what you did was you did something that you were incredibly proud of, then you should, instead of bypassing that and saying, but it didn't reach 1 million people, first of all, pat yourself on the back for making anything and completing it and doing something that you actually felt proud of afterwards. That's a huge step right there. That's like the most important step.
Right.
But the step between that and being famous, if that's what you're trying to do, or whatever the thing you're trying to do is, New York Times bestseller list or whatever it is, there's a lot of little things in between there.
Yeah.
Right.
And so you have to break it down into like the half steps, because that's where you can really fine point what you're saying, Karlana, which is what went wrong. Because if you know what I'm saying, if what went wrong on this giant list is what went wrong with engagement on social media, what went wrong with
you've got to nail. Yeah, you've got to fine tune it.
Yeah,
you got to fine
tune it. But you have to get to build on top of the first thing, though. Get the first thing. So don't dismiss all of it. Like if you didn't hit your major goal, don't throw it all out. Like no, you still celebrate that you made the thing. Making the thing is wonderful and it's beautiful, and that's what we can do as human beings, is we can create something that's from here and then tangible. So that's great. Don't discard that. But if the other stuff didn't happen, that's the stuff you want to scrutinize. Don't scrutinize yourself as a result of the world not throwing money at you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
No,
so
absolutely.
What if the thing that you're making just simply sucks? How do you reject someone else?
Well, what if my guitar riffs are trash?
Yeah. How do you tell someone?
Are you asking me how I tell someone that they suck? Is that what you're asking me?
That's exactly what I'm asking.
So if you were to tell someone you're doing a bad job,
those artists out there, and you're trying to give them encouragement, and you're doing all this stuff, and you're trying to help them along, and their stuff it's just not going to work.
I'm gonna give you my secret, and if anybody sees me doing this now in the future, they know they suck because I'm doing this to them. I'm telling you right now, this is it. If I start asking you a lot of questions,
your stuff may suck.
What's that?
Your stuff may suck.
Your stuff may suck if I start asking you a lot of questions.
Wait. So like, what type of questions? Are we talking like technical questions?
No. If I say, well, what were you going for?
Oh no!
Oh no! The what were you going for question. What did you have in mind when you were thinking about this?
Oh, that's very much code for. Oh, that's really interesting.
And if they tell me I was trying to do this, and I would say, cool. Now, do you feel like? To the best of your ability, do you feel like you executed that? And then if they go, well, maybe, but I thought maybe I could spend more time on color. And then I would say something like, okay, so why didn't you spend more time on color?
It's very therapist-y. That's very.
It is. Because here's the thing, though. Like, everybody's at a different level. That's the reality of it. And you really shouldn't judge where you are and where they are and try to match them up. It's all seriousness. Absolutely. It's about where they are on the journey. If we're all running a race here and somebody who's 55 years old starts running the race at 55, you don't look over your shoulder at them and be like, holy crap, why are you all the way back there? They just started.
Right.
So you can't make them feel bad for that. You have to go, okay, you're back there. Cool. I remember when I was back there. And I remember when I was back there, this is what I did to kind of prep myself to get to where I am now. So you have to ask questions. You can't just start like slapping judgments on people. You know what I mean?
Right.
As much as you want to, you can't do that. You probably shouldn't.
Well, I'm going to say, I think we're nearing the end of our time, but
okay.
You are very well spoken.
Thanks.
I want to say thank you to you and to our listeners. Phil, where can they find you? Where can we find you? What are we looking for at this point?
Okay, well, don't go looking in my windows. That's creepy. Don't find me that way. But you can find me, well, the website right there, just my first name, last name. You can find me on all the socials. I have a YouTube channel. I have a podcast called Stay Tooned. Tooned is spelled Tooned. But if you want to watch like the film stuff that I do, learn more about any of that stuff. If you want to buy art from me, because I actually do make stuff to sell, just that right there. That's the place you go.
Oh, and for our podcast listeners, that is PHILMACHI.com.
Yes. Oh, yes. I was pointing on screen. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
You got to point with your ears.
They don't know where I was pointing. I could have been pointing like up my nose and saying, right there is where you find me.
Say your website again, please.
It's philmachi.com. You can also go to retailsunshine.com. It's the same location. It's just two different URLs. And if you ever, and I'll tell this to anybody, like seriously, if someone comes to me or says to themselves, I would like to know more about either you, Phil, or about like what I'm doing in my own artistic journey, I will extend the olive branch and tell you can absolutely approach me on social media. I don't like how people are like up on this like hill where people can't approach them. I don't think that's very very human of us. It's not, it's no fun if you can't talk to somebody. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
This has been so much fun. And thank you all for watching us and listening to us and joining the How Do Artists live stream podcast. On behalf of myself and Ryan Caldwell, we would like to say so long until next week, same time, same place. Bring your questions and your curiosity, and we will see you then.
We're not.